is a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress here in Rivers State, Darlington, Nwauju. Fubara said something. He said that the worst of the political crisis in the state is over. So he was speaking at the Obiwali International Conference Center, Port Harcourt. Was his 1 year in office, and he said the crisis he faced just 3 months into his term was a serious threat to his government. Well, let's listen to the governor, though.
This crisis, 3 months into our tenure, was not just an ordinary political crisis. It was a vicious existential crisis. But thanks goodness, the worst is over. Defended our rights, an opportunity to govern our state and advance its progresses in freedom, and we will continue to prevail.
All right, so I'm sure he was about to say we will continue to prevail. Okay, apart from that, he also said something about what his administration had to go through. That's this time around not about political crisis now, but has to do with finances. So he said his administration inherited over 34 uncompleted projects worth more than 225 billion naira when he assumed office. But the governor said his administration has so far initiated projects worth over 534 billion naira. And there was something else he said about the state's internally generated revenue. So the governor said that restated, because he has said something like this before some time ago, although some persons disputed it, but he restated that the state internally generated revenue, IGR, improved from 12 billion naira to 17 billion naira during what he called off-peak period, and 28 billion naira during peak period. All right. Okay, so let's hear from the governor again, and then I'll throw my question. All right, take a listen.
The construction of 9 new road projects worth 534 billion 332 million. I wish to emphasize that with a combined cost of 528 billion, 50.15 kilometer ring road, the dualization of Elele, Ebeda, Omok Road, and the Trans-Calabari projects are 3 most ambitious road projects by any government in Rivers State.
Okay, so those are some of the things the governor said yesterday. Like I said, he said a lot of things. Okay, so for you who is listening and who's joining the conversation from social media, I have a question for you. And my question is pretty simple. Did Governor Fubara underperform or meet your expectations? Or did he exceed your expectations? If your answer is yes or no, please explain. All right? So did he underperform? Did he meet your expectations? Or did he exceed your expectations? All right, so coming to you now, Mr. Nwauju. First of all, I would like to get your take on the governor's statement that the worst of the political crisis in Rivers State is over. How do you view that statement?
Well, I do not wear the shoes of the governor, and so he may be right if he has said so. But for an onlooker or for anybody interested in politics of real estate, I do not think that the distractions are over, because there are still, as we speak, a plethora of court cases that are yet to be dispensed with or yet to be determined. And so until these cases are dispensed with, and there is enough, I say enough because given the sensitivity of the state and the kind of toxic politics that is played in Rivers State, it might be very difficult for one to wish away the activities of both centrifugal and centripetal forces. Now, to say if the issues are settled, I would say no. There are still plenty of issues to be determined as we speak, There are still persons who believe that they still sit or they have a right to sit as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, whereas there is another school of thought of those who believe that having defected from the PDP to the APC, this set of persons have lost their seats. So it is difficult for anybody to say today as it stands that everything in Rivers State as per the political issues have been settled. I would not agree with that argument.
Okay, now from part of the things the governor said, I mean, you also heard him. He was reeling out how much the state's internally generated revenue improved, all right, despite whatever was happening. But with the political crisis, how would you say it affected the kind of, perhaps the level of governance that Rivers people should have gotten, and of course development initiatives in Rivers State, even though the governor is saying we've attracted this, we've done this, we've achieved that, and all of what he has said so far? Ooh. Mr. Nwauju, did you hear me?
Yes, please come again.
Okay, so I was asking simply, how do you think that the political crisis affected governance in the state, and of course development initiatives? I mean, the governor is saying the state's internally generated revenue increased. He was able to flag off some major projects and all whatnot. But I mean, you are looking or viewing what the governor has done so far from a different angle. So would you say the political crisis affected governance, and how?
Of course, the truth of the matter is that the political tension in Rivers State has affected governance and indeed development in our state. And anybody who will pretend over it is not truthful to himself. Now, we had a situation where those of us in the opposition believed that the immediate past governor was trying to impose on Rivers State a stooge, and by so doing wanted to do a third term. 3 months after May 29th, Rivers people, especially those in the opposition, now felt a sense of relief in the sense that it will no longer be a control, an undue and unnecessary control by one man over the resources and the politics of the state. And so to say if the activities of, if the political activity, the negative energy that was exuded in the past 7 or 8 months in Rivers, if it affected governance, the answer is yes. And rightly so, because there is no investor that will bring in money into a state that has plenty of political upheavals. Nobody will put in money in an environment that you are not sure of your investments. So that is what has happened. And so indeed the situation has affected governance. And the crisis of democracy in Rivers is becoming a novel. It's something that people from other parts of the federation will have to study. What has happened, what has transpired in the politics and democracy of Rivers State, and the issues with godfatherism. So for me, I believe strongly that the crisis affected governance in Rivers State.
But then the governor, I think I had a story earlier on, but from the top of my head, I can remember vividly that a youth development center, resource center of some sort, was flagged off on Tuesday. And from what we gathered, from what the government said, it's with collaboration with some foreign investors. So it's not like it's a state government thing.
Yes, you know what happened is that immediately investors, because investors will watch the climate, the political climate, because security is everything in an economy. You cannot. It's like taking an investment to Ukraine. You can't possibly propose to do business or make any investments in Ukraine, given the war situation over there. And so, for any kind of partnership with government, they must have looked at the political temperature and then see that the fact that it's simmering down a bit, will decide to take a step of faith to partner with the state governments to see how such center or investment can be put in. It does not mean overall that the state is stable politically as we speak.
Okay. I've got many more questions though, but just to remind our listener that you can be a part of this conversation, you can get on Facebook. We're live on Facebook. Drop your comments right there, Nigeria Info 92.3 PH, and you can also get on X and tweet at Nigeria Info PH. And well, of course, we've got our WhatsApp number, so you can call, you can send a message there, a voice note, and we'll play them when the time is right. All right, and that number is 0809 030 6416. Okay, so the next thing I want to find out from you now is the should I call it the handling of the crisis, the political crisis, right? I mean, the governor has stayed 1 year in office. From someone who is opposition, who has been watching from outside, you're not a member of the cabinet, how would you say the governor's handling of this crisis is actually? Would you say he had a good grip on the crisis?
Yes, I think that the governor has been able to handle the crisis well, given the fact that he's been able to rise up to the occasion. The fact that immediately after the Supreme Court judgment, which validated his elections, he had the responsibility, the singular responsibility, to serve the people of Rivers State. So even in the event of the crisis that came as distractions, he has been able to calmly wither the storm and see how the states and the structures of the state can keep grinding. Because I think one of the tricks or the strategies he deployed was to make sure, to ensure that he had the loyalty of the civil service, which is the engine room of government. So I think that was the strategy he deployed to ensure that government was stable and that the wheels of government was not grinded by these political distractions.
Okay.
So I think he's been able to discharge his responsibilities equitably.
All right, Mr. Nwauju, please, we'll go on a commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue.
Okay.
All right, just stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, folks, ready